Welcome to Not Your Typical Leadership Coaching, the podcast that builds on conventional wisdom and adds a fresh perspective on this ever-evolving field of coaching.
Are you fed up with advice that doesn't really get to the heart of the matter or really get you?
Whether you're a reluctant or seasoned leader, this podcast is for you.
Embark on a journey of actionable insights, harness untapped potential, and learn to develop a mindset that will transform you permanently.
Not Your Typical Leadership Coaching, where we shatter boundaries and awaken the confident and compassionate leader within.
Hi, Marty.
Hi, Bill. So we're going to use this podcast time to do a sample coaching where I'm the coach and you bring a specific topic that you'd like coaching on. And we'll do a later episode where we do just the opposite.
Yes, that's right.
And then we'll also have some episodes with other people doing the coaching.
Right.
Great. I think it's always important to begin by just clarifying what is the topic, getting it down so that it's bite-sizable enough that we can do coaching around. Because if the topic is too general, it's hard to know. It's hard to get something really done in the time of a coaching call. So that's one thing that's interesting to notice, is that we do have to define the question.
And as you said, we also want to define the time that we have to work with. So given that we want to do this podcast episode in about 30 minutes, give or take, should we establish how much time you're going to take to coach me?
Yeah, let's do, say, 20, 25 minutes?
25, yeah.
Okay.
Do you want to, let me hand it back to you. Do you need to do anything around structure with that, or shall I just leave it up to you to watch?
Yeah, I'll watch. Thanks.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So what is the topic that you'd like to explore?
I probably need to talk around it a little bit to zero in on it.
Okay.
And this is something that I'm curious about. I'm not aware that it's especially problematic or that it's problematic at all. I'm just curious about it. It makes me question myself a little bit. So here it is. I absolutely love what I get to do for a living, which is to be a results coach. When I'm in sessions with clients, I'm fully present 99.9% of the time. Rarely do I get distracted away from focusing in on the client. And I really enjoy what I do. It's powerful work for me and for my clients. And this week has been a good example, probably 4 different times. I started out with a full week, very busy week, which for me means Monday through Thursday at on average 4 to 5 paid coaching sessions every single day. And in addition to that, I have all my admin work to do, and my creative work gets fit into all that time as well. So when a client cancels, there's a part of me that feels relief. And that's a little confusing and surprising to me that I do. I've noticed this for a while. I've been aware of this for some time, but I'm just curious about it. And I see this as an opportunity to have you facilitate exploration of and pursuit of that curiosity.
It's an interesting thing to bring to a coaching conversation. What are you looking to get out of looking at this?
I'd like not to feel, I'd like to understand the relief. Because I understand that I'm not like a singular mono mind, and that I'm made up of parts, subpersonalities. So using that kind of language, I'll say I'd like to get curious about that part or any other parts that actually feel relief when a client cancels.
Yeah, I'm up for that. And what would that understanding give you?
I would hope that if I'm going to feel relief, that it can feel empowering to feel that relief. Or if after, as a result of this conversation, I don't feel relief, as if it's almost as if something dreaded has passed me and I don't have to deal with it. While in reality, there's nothing to dread. In fact, I love it. I enjoy working with my clients. This is confusing to me. I'd have clarity. I would hope that I would no longer feel dread. Seems like it's a little too far, but I would no longer feel relief when one of my clients who I enjoy connecting with cancels the appointment.
And I'm curious, what is in the way of that clarity? What is what's in between you and having that clarity that would give you the power that you're looking for?
I don't know yet what's in the way. I can just tell you that there's a disconnect.
Fair enough.
Something that's happening automatically and out of my control that shows up in physical sensation and emotion and thought, but I'm observing it and I'm impacted by it, but I'm not in control of it.
Okay. Let's start with the body.
Okay.
So take a minute, maybe even close your eyes and go inside and feel that confusion about why it's relieving to have a client cancel. The question maybe that you ask of yourself about that.
Yeah, what's confusing is that there are two reactions happening at the same time. And the one is relief, and then the other one is a judgment or an inner criticism for feeling relief.
Where do you feel that in your body, that judgment or that criticism in particular?
Yeah, so the criticism, focusing on just that one reaction, which is the criticism or judgment.
Yeah.
I feel it as a drop in my energy.
Okay.
It's got a feel of shame to it. And let me see if I can tell you how physically I know that's what I'm experiencing, that I'm calling it shame. Yeah, it feels like I'm wanting to draw into myself and be smaller.
Okay, great. What is the criticism? What is the judgment itself?
You mind if I will probably go in and close my eyes to contemplate your questions?
Yeah. What is the part that's shaming you, that's got this criticism? What does it say that has you feel small?
That I shouldn't be relieved. I'm a coach, for God's sakes. This is how I make my living. Why would I be relieved if somebody cancels an appointment?
Okay, and you are. So I get that. I get what the part is saying there, that has the judgment that you shouldn't because you're a coach and you love coaching. Can we go deeper into that? Get more specific about why you do feel relief.
Oh, so in other words, you want to switch to the other position. You want me to switch to the other position?
Good that you pointed that out. Let's stay here now first, and we'll go back to that.
Okay.
We'll go back to that. So we're looking at what the judgment is saying. You shouldn't feel this way. Why?
I shouldn't feel this way because I'm a coach and I love what I do and I'm in business for myself. And when someone cancels an appointment and I lose the income, why would I feel relieved?
Mm-hmm.
And underneath that is a suspicion that there must be something wrong with me, like that I might want to sabotage my own success, that it's a relief to that I don't believe in myself, from the perspective of this critical part, it is that I shouldn't doubt myself as a coach, and that this is proof that I am, that I may not have the confidence or the belief in myself that I think I do.
Okay, I got it. So if this is proving a relief to you, this part says then you must have some self-doubt in there.
Yeah. And you call yourself a powerful coach. It's a biting voice, sarcastic, biting, shaming voice. And you call yourself.
Remind you of anybody? Does somebody else in your past have that voice? Or somebody you've seen on TV?
Oh, interesting. Definitely have this. This is a familiar messaging, language, attitude that I've been hurt by in my life. Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
And I can think of specific people, some of them in my adult life, not recently. I can't think of a single person that's in my life now that would come across this way. But
That's
if I go
great.
back to my second marriage,
Yeah.
find it there.
Hmm.
And then the further back I go, the more predominant this actual threat was in my life, where there might be someone that was critical and caustic and shaming and hurtful. Yeah.
So this way of, would you say that this way of being with you is something that you learned, that you picked up somewhere else? Would you, does that ring true?
I'm just going to ask the part that question.
Hmm.
Where did you learn this? Yeah, I'm not getting a direct answer to my question, which is where did you learn this? But what I did get was that I'm not trustworthy. I can't trust myself. Its job is to make sure that it checks me because I can't trust myself. Interesting.
So it has a job, and it's based on a notion that you can't trust yourself.
Yeah, that I've got to be like constantly self-vigilant, be watching myself because I'm not trustworthy. I can't trust myself.
So I'm going to ask a different kind of question right now, just because I feel okay. We got the sense of what this part of you is there for, and that there's more to do here. But I want to try something else just for a second, since we're short on time, actually. And just to ask you, is it true that you should never
Trust myself.
that you should never have a doubt about yourself, that
Oh, that I
you
should
have
never
to
have a doubt.
always trust yourself? Is just out of the blue, is that true?
Let me understand your question. Are you saying, is it true that I should never doubt myself?
Yes.
No, it's not true.
Just curious. Okay. That's part of the reason why I think that this part is not you.
Right.
It's picked up from out there. It's something you picked up to ask that question, to doubt yourself, and then to think that you shouldn't doubt yourself. I just want to clarify, the real you, the true self, sees, oh yeah, there's a story here, there's a history here.
Yeah.
But it's not actually really true that a person can doubt themselves.
Yeah. So what I'm getting from what you're pointing at is that, yeah, I should question myself. I should question myself and get curious about where I'm coming from and whether it's valid or not. And really what it boils down to, and be open to being wrong, being willing to be wrong and open to making mistakes. And yeah.
I think these are also important qualities of a coach.
Yeah.
Right? Like when you said, wait, are you going to the other part that's relieved? And I was like, oh no, I'm willing to be wrong. Let's stay here. So I think there might be some more work to do. I don't know if we'll get to it right now, about where did that originate, not trusting yourself? And where did the criticism inside you come from that you shouldn't do that? Right?
Right.
But what we've established, I think, and just tell me if this resonates, is, oh yeah, those are voices inside of me that don't represent who I really am.
Right. That is a voice. Yeah. We did identify two voices. We explored one for a little bit, and the other I see as a voice as well. Yeah. So I shouldn't doubt myself as one of them, and I'm doubting myself. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's go back for a second to the relief.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Relief that what? You actually felt it today. Go ahead.
As much as I love coaching, there's a lot of other things that I love too. That's maybe one of the consequences of having a life that you love, is that a steady diet of all the same thing means that I don't get to do some other things that I love doing. Yeah, when a coaching client cancels, I've got a stack of things that I could be doing. Some of it is writing a new article, some of it is making a new video, some of it is going out and mowing the lawn, or going out and throwing cornhole bags in the backyard with my wife, enjoying a nice meal or a snack, relaxing, self-care. So the relief is, oh great, I get some more time to open up to do some of that. And now that you asked the question and I answer, I realize how wonderful it is to have a life where I don't have fear about and concern about income. I don't have fear or concern about a story that I might otherwise be telling myself about why the client canceled and what that means about me. None of that's going on here.
Beautiful, beautiful.
It's about it's more about, okay, now that the time's open, what would I want to do? And I'm excited about what I might be able to do.
Beautiful. Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. So we're starting to answer another question that I wanted to ask you, which is, if you didn't have that critic in there, right, that you shouldn't be downing yourself, you shouldn't feel relief here. If that were just like, if I could just take a vacuum cleaner and suck that thought out of your brain,
yeah,
imagine what would then be possible.
Your question reminds me of Byron Katie's, I think it's her fourth question. Mm-hmm. Would you be without that thought?
That's the question. Exactly.
Yeah. I would just be excited about the choices that I have now. What's possible. Then what I want to do with my time. I'd probably be, I may or may not be aware as I am in this moment of how grateful I am to have the life where I have choice, where I don't get scared and start worrying about things.
Is there anything that you want to, I don't know, put into existence or practice at, or an action, even a one-time action that you might want to take to concretize this gratitude and this realization that, you know, when clients cancel, there's choice?
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. I will set an intention, and maybe you can help me make it more concrete using your word. To notice when I get cancellations, what happens, bring even more awareness to it. I'm aware in this moment that I have some resistance to bringing any awareness to it, or I have had in the past.
Yeah.
Because it feels bad. It feels bad to feel guilty about feeling relief. So I avoid looking at it. So my intention is to bring attention to it when someone cancels, and I have an opening in my schedule that I didn't expect.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe take a moment with that critical part of myself, and if it shows up, it may not anymore now that it's been updated.
Yeah.
I believe that this conversation has updated that part. The part now knows that, that's why I would feel relief, not because I'm a fraud, not because I have self-doubt, but because I enjoy my life so much. I have other things that I might want to spend my time doing.
Yeah. I got more time now. Not that there's anything onerous about coaching, but now I can also go mow the lawn or take a bike ride or do whatever.
Like a good example that would be if I planned on mowing the lawn and then somehow my wife arranged to have a kid from the neighborhood mow it. Now I've got an hour and a half back.
Exactly. Great. Same thing. Anything else about this intention or anything that you want to really bring into existence now that you've updated that part?
I believe there's more to it than just noticing whether or not the critical part shows up.
Yeah.
If the critical part shows up, tend to it and maybe remind it of the update and see if there's more to learn from it.
Okay.
And the other thing is to give myself permission now to enjoy the relief rather than guilt myself or shame myself about having it.
Yeah. I have a suggestion, and you could take it or leave it, and that would be, and maybe you already have this too, is a list of all those wonderful things that you could do if a client kind of canceled, so that you can relish it. There is beautiful. Right? So
what's not on that list though is playing cornhole or calling one of my kids or hanging out with my grandkids, or these are all things related to what I want to do around my career and my business.
I see.
I just now showed you, and I love doing all that stuff too.
Sure.
It's not on that list because I've been avoiding doing it. It's just on the list because I haven't had time to do it. Further explains the relief.
My only thought about that, again, if this helps, great. If not, fine, is that it legitimizes. It's, yes, there are things waiting, great things waiting if a client cancels. So it's not like I'm being bad or I shouldn't do this. It's already been acknowledged that there are these great things we get to do if a client cancels.
Yeah, that's a nice shift. That's a really nice shift.
Great. So Do you understand the relief at this point? Why you felt it and why it was confusing?
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you feel clarity then?
Yeah, let me just say what I understand.
Yes.
I understand that there was confusion because I had at least two parts in conflict around the activating circumstance, which is to have someone cancel an appointment.
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm.
That's always going to be confusing. Anytime I have more than one internal opinion or reaction, it gets confusing, especially if they're equal. One wasn't so dominant that I didn't notice the other. I was just confused by it. So that explains why I was confused. I understand now too why I felt guilty or ashamed, and that is because this critic part of mine had a job to do that wasn't based in current reality,
Mm-hmm.
based in a belief that someone else gave me, but that this part took on and owned. That and in the IFS model, that's called a legacy burden that now has been updated.
Right.
And the update is I I can trust myself, and it's wise and really healthy to question myself, not because I'm not trustworthy, but because I'm someone who grows and changes and recognizes mistakes and grows from them.
Awesome. Very good. One last question from me. When you were in the confusion and questioning yourself, what level of power were you experiencing, let's say from the scale of 1 to 10? And when you were in that, oh my gosh, what is going on here? I'm curious about this. There's some
I
confusion.
love your question. I use my emotometer, and I'll probably use it in my coaching that will demonstrate with you or others. And on that emotometer, it goes from -10, which is completely disempowered, all the way up to +10, which is completely empowered. And that's the way I'm thinking of your question.
Okay, great.
Normally, I operate what I call idle at a +5 to +6.
Uh-huh.
When this happens, it drops down to probably a +3 or +4. It doesn't completely disempower me, but
Right.
it's a drain. It's a drain on my battery for sure.
Excellent. And at this moment, where are you on the same scale?
When I think about a client, I want to apply your question to the activating circumstance, which is a client cancels. I feel relief, and then I feel this guilt. That's what drops it down to a 3 or 2 or 3. I'd have to say I'm back up to that 5 or 6, maybe even a 7. I love insights. I love getting these insights and having it making a difference in my life.
Okay. Okay. Is there anything else that you want to ask or say at this point? Anything left incomplete here?
I guess the only thing left to say is I'm glad that I brought this.
Mhm.
I have no regrets about it being recorded and being one of our podcasts. I had some concern. And I didn't mention this until now, but I had some concern that if I bring this into the podcast and others watch or listen to the podcast and see that I feel relief when a client cancels, number one, that my current clients are going to say, oh, good, I'm going to cancel all the time then. And then number two, that I might be judged as a fraud.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm. Mhm.
And who knows, maybe I'm being judged as a fraud, but don't have those concerns in this moment.
Thank you.
Thank you, Marty. Great coaching.
Mhm. You're welcome.
So how was that for you?
It was delightful, the exploration, like following you into your own mind and body and seeing you get in touch with, and then, oh, yeah, that's where and recognizing all the connections to past issues, and also then distinguishing all of that from how you could think about it and how you want to update your system. And it's just delightful to watch that happening. And I just, for the most part, I was just following your lead. And so it wasn't hard at all. It was an enjoyable experience to see a human being use this faculty that we have that I don't, maybe whales have it. They're supposed to be pretty smart, but I don't know. I know that human beings have a capacity that nothing else I've met so far has, this self-recognition, right? Not only can we pay attention, like a frog can pay attention to the fly, but we can pay attention to our own thinking, right? And learn from ourselves. And so I get to be in that self-recognizing place, that very high order way of being, when I'm coaching, and I got to do it with you because you were on that exploration.
Would you say that this experience that you had with me, albeit a short one, you typically spend an hour with your clients? Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah. We spent, I want to say, no more than 20 minutes together in that session. Is that about right?
Yeah, I was watching the clock. We went about 22.
Okay. Given that it was only 22 minutes instead of an hour, how closely does that mirror what you normally would do with a client?
Pretty closely, and we might have spent some more time on where these parts of you, what their influence was, where you picked them up. That would be useful. It helps complete it. Oh, that's where it came from. And so now it's less of a mystery. It's been named. And so that would have been useful. And then we might also look more, depending on the topic that gets brought, at where else this plays out in life, other places where there's this relief and confusion, and get curious about how this relates to those.
Yeah.
And sometimes we might need to just keep it to 20 minutes because we got other things to talk about.
What did you do about what we talked about last week? And
right, exactly.
How does this relate to your overall project? And
totally, those are very important things.
That's another question I want to ask you is, you and I come from different schools of coaching, both in our history. You've been coaching almost twice as long as I have, maybe, about twice as long as I have. You've been coaching 25 years, right?
Yes.
I've been coaching about 12 years. And
how'd you get so good so fast? It took me 25 years.
How did you learn to coach?
For one thing, I did take courses. There are some beautiful programs out there, and they're taught by very fine people. And so I did several different things like that. But I think I learned a lot more taking some of those nuggets or basic principles and just getting in there and doing it.
Yeah, mostly. Yeah, me too. Just practicing what worked and what didn't.
And that's one of the things that they emphasized when I did take a course on coaching. They would have us bring somebody into the classroom, or go home and practice on somebody and report back. So there's a recognition even in the formal training that a lot of what you're going to learn is going to come from practice.
I know we're running out of time here, but I do have a couple more questions, and I just am really intrigued, and I'm guessing that some of our viewers, listeners are also going to be a little bit intrigued about what is behind good coaching. What is inspiring and driving the questions that you ask? And that's where I want to go next is, I had the sense that you have some pillars or some constructs that maybe serve as scaffolding that you climb around on when you're coaching a client. Would you say that's true?
Yes, definitely.
Can you name some of those? And maybe name some of the ones that showed up in our session together just now.
Yeah. I talked a little bit about these pillars when you interviewed me on this podcast. And one of them is like there's like a chief criticism that we have. So we were talking here about that judgment and self-criticism in there. And so I'm always listening. That's always the main thing in the way of our just being fully in our power. And so I was listening for that. And also, like, how major is it? Is this the big one, or is this something else? How central is it? Is this something that I hear coming out of you all the time? When you listen to somebody in a number of conversations, you start to hear, oh yeah, there's a recurring theme here that you don't think that you're smart, or that you don't think that you're beautiful, or something like that. So that was part of what I was listening for, actually, in your self-doubt.
And you've known me for a while. Did you hear that today?
The shame piece. Yeah. The shame piece. I've heard that from you before. You're like, should I feel this way? Is it okay to feel this way? Should I be ashamed? Yeah. The other thing, though, is that I know that the whole purpose behind the coaching that you do is to, and I'm probably not going to put it the way you put it, but basically to have them live as their true self.
Yes.
As the self, right? And so that was what led me at a certain point to say, okay, there's some more work to do on this, but let's just get in touch with your true self. What does it have to say about this? And it recognized immediately, those are conversations I picked up to, and that's not me. Mm-hmm. And so that's the other pillar that I wanted to point to is your purpose in your coaching is to reunite people with their true self. And so I wanted to do that with you because I know that's your purpose.
In other words, you met me where I am.
Yes. That was the idea.
Yeah, great. Anything else you can think of that showed up in this coaching that you would consider one of your pillars or a standard that you use to operate as a coach?
I think just that clarity is another kind of pillar. I didn't think it would be sufficiently helpful to go into the psychological depth. I thought it was more important to stick with, okay, you got the clarity about that. Let's stay in the clearing, right? Because clarity is what you asked for as well. And I have this feedback from my clients too. It's one of the main things they get out of our conversations, like clarity. And that's very empowering and helpful. So when you said that's what you were after, I was like, great, because that's what you're getting.
Great. Yeah. So I just want to acknowledge a couple of things that really worked well for me, if that's okay for you.
Sure.
Coach me. Well, I certainly did notice that you took enough time, sufficient time at the very beginning of the session to get clear about what it is that I wanted to accomplish as a result of our coaching together. Mm-hmm. And that's one of the things that I always try to do as a coach as well. And I can tell you that when I forget to do that, or when I get so involved in whatever story the client brings into the session with them, then the session doesn't go very well because we don't know where we're going. Mm-hmm. So, I loved that you established that and that you brought it back at the end of the session and checked it out to see if I actually did, in fact, get what I came to the session for.
That's neat. Yeah.
I did notice and appreciate that you met me where I was at rather than trying to impose maybe a different philosophy or a different approach to. You know me well enough to know what's going to work for me. And you know that I really honor and recognize my parts and the influence that they have on me. So you honored that, and I appreciated that. That worked very well for me. I just think you're a masterful coach, and I really appreciate that session. I feel like I just got away with a free session.
You did.
I did. Okay.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
That concludes another episode of Not Your Typical Leadership Coaching. We hope you found inspiration and valuable insights to fuel your leadership journey.
Remember, true leadership is not about you. It's about empowering others.
Take your insights to heart and cultivate a leadership mindset that will transform you from within.
Thank you for joining us on this quest to leadership excellence. Don't forget to subscribe and stay tuned for our upcoming episodes where we delve deeper into the art of leadership.
Until next time, remember that you have the power to lead with confidence and compassion from the inside out.